Hello, and welcome to. I guess this is the first live stream I've done on YouTube, and I just recently got my cam to work pretty well, so I thought that would be nice to just make kind of a um, going for refuge session while diving into the Dhamma. And so that's what we're going to do now. And first, I think we should take refuge in the Triple Gym, and then we can get a little bit more into some of the Dhamma. Okay, so Namo Buddhassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the perfectly self-enlightened one. And we can say this 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the rightly self-awakened one. This time I said rightly instead of perfectly. And for a 3rd time, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the rightly self-awakened one. And now I think that we should take refuge in the Buddha. And you can repeat after me when I've said the pali, and then we're going to do the English as well. Okay, so, and we have a nice Buddha image right over here, and I put out some lights for the Buddha as well. And if I do a turn like this, I'm keeping the Buddha to my right. So, Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. I go to the Buddha for refuge. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. I go to the Dhamma for refuge. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. I go to the Sangha for refuge. And Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. I go to the Buddha for refuge. For a 2nd time. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. And for a 2nd time, I go to the Dhamma for refuge. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. And for a 3rd time, and for a 2nd time, I go to the Sangha for refuge. Tatyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. For a 3rd time, I go to the Buddha for refuge. Tatyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. And for a 3rd time, I go to the Dhamma for refuge. Tatyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. And for a 3rd time, I go to the Sangha for refuge. Sadhu. So now we have paid homage to the Blessed One, and we have taken refuge in the Triple Gem. And so, Today we're going to talk about energy, or Viriya, and it's going to be in the context of right investigation, um, as part of the meditative lifestyle. And so that means that exert right now, for example, it's just beyond midnight, and so we're putting out effort to have our minds concentrated and focused and be clear when we are looking at this phenomena of an investigating mind. And so when the mind is unable to investigate the phenomena, or what the arisings in the present moment, that means the mind is not energetic. And so that means one is not going to be able to be mindful. And so with that, that is the falling away from the Dhamma. And so that is one opportunity to learn about how energy is linked with the investigation of things as they really are, as opposed to how we want them to be. And so we are just going to be reading aloud today, after having paid homage to the Buddha and taken refuge in the Triple Gym. And I'm reading currently through the Digha Nikaya, and we are still going through Division 1 as to what the Dhamma is not. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see with the mindful mind how it is that investigation of, for example, the Dhammas is linked to energy in the present moment, and also rousing future energy and making it like a good habit of mind, as opposed to having bad habits of mind. So it's a good habit of mind to be able to investigate what is going on in the mind, as opposed to having a cloudy mind and not being able to tell what is coming up in the mind because of distractions and doubts about what one is seeing, and maybe it's pleasant or unpleasant, making it either hard to concentrate or too easy to be motivated to actually really take a careful look at what's going on in the mind. Okay, so here is the book. This is the one we're going through. The Digha Nikaya, the long discourses of the Buddha. You can look at this elephant as well, if you want to see. That's just my YouTube page. Just making sure I'm still live. That's the elephant on this book. And also here. Okay. So this is the translation by Maurice Walsh. And we're just going to continue on a little bit further with our studies. And we are into the Brahmajala Sutta, Sutta number 1. It is the great net, the supreme net. You can look at this picture. This is for this sutta. Okay, so one way to rouse energy is to study, if you are able to. Sometimes you're not able to study or meditate. It's going to be hard. So that's the first thing. And then, when you have tranquilized the mind and you're in a state to investigate keenly, then you could continue in your studies. Okay, so I'm just going to be reading, and I just want to make sure that I find a comfortable way to sit. And this looks nice. Okay, so we're going through wrong views, and I can see that I left off just having gone through wrong view 1 out of the 62 kinds of wrong views. I think for the sake of continuity and formality, we should go back and read the previous page. It's not that long, it's just this last section that we're gonna be jumping back to. Okay, so page 73. What the teaching is not. And if you have questions and you're watching this live, I'm going to look through the chat at the end of the session or either during the reading. So please feel free to participate with questions or comments, I guess. Okay, so it's been a while since I've been doing a loud reading of the Dhamma here on YouTube formally, and this is the first time with the cam. So here we go. Let me just take some water. The 62 kinds of wrong views. 1.29. There are monks, some ascetics and Brahmins, who are speculators about the past, having fixed views about the past, and who put forward various speculative theories about the past in 18 different ways. On what basis, on what grounds do they do so? I should be able to pull up the note here. No, that's not a real note. I'm sorry. I have to look for the small numbers. But we're going to be reading the footnotes as well. I have 2 bookmarks, so we can look through the notes as we go through. There are some ascetics and Brahmins who are eternalists, who proclaim the eternity of the self and the world in 4 ways. On what grounds? Wrong view number 1. Footnote 44. These wrong views are summarized in verse. So we're going through verses. Here, monks. A certain ascetic or Brahmin has by means of effort, exertion, application, earnestness, and right attention attained to such a state of mental concentration that he thereby recalls past existences, one birth, two births, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, 1,000, 100,000 births, several hundred, several thousand, and several 100,000 births. There my name was so and so, my clan was so and so, my caste was so and so, my food was such and such, I experienced such and such pleasant and painful conditions. I lived for so long. Having passed away from there, I rose there. There my name was so and so. And having passed away from there, I arose here. Thus he remembers various past lives, their conditions and details. And he says, the self and the world are eternal. Barren, like a mountain peak, set firmly as a post. Footnote 45. i.e., it is producing something new. Barren. So it's barren. It's a on account of that wrong view, such a person says, the self and the world are eternal, barren, like a mountain peak, set firmly as a post. These beings rush around, circulate, pass away, and re-arise, but this remains eternally. Why so? I have by means of effort, exertion, attained to such a state of mental concentration that I have thereby recalled various past existences. That is how I know the self and the world are eternal. That is the first way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. So that is a wrong view of eternalism, in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. Wrong view number 2. And what is the second way? Here, monks, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has by means of effort, exertion, attained to such a state of mental concentration that he thereby recalls one period of contraction and expansion. And that means a universal period. Footnote 46. Sangha watang, viwatang, viwat, yeah, samma watang, viwatang. So that's the Pali for an expansion and a contraction. Oh, it says a period of contraction and expansion. 2 such periods, 3 such periods, 4, 5, 10 periods of contraction and expansion. There, my name was so and so, and then it just goes ... as his name was so and so, and he lived such and such way, and so forth. That is the second way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. So these second wrong viewers have actually seen for themselves several universal cycles and all of their lives, which could have been billions, depending on where they have been born. Most likely billions. Wrong view number 3. I'm just going to take this off. This book is really nice to handle. Just like this. We can put this here. Could it stand? Nice. Very good. Wrong view number 3. And what is the third way? Here, monks, a certain ascetic or Brahmin, has by means of effort attained to such a state of mental concentration that he recalls 10, 20, 30, 40 periods of contraction and expansion. There, my name was so and so, and all the way through. That is the third way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. Wrong view number 4. And what is the fourth way? Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin is a logician. Footnote 47. Takki. T-A-K-K-I. Renders this rationalist, which is somewhat misleading. Okay, so some translate Takki as rationalist, whereas it could be misleading, as it could also mean a logician, someone who hammers out reason by logic, and thereby false logic and false perception. He is the logician, a reasoner. Here it goes. Hammering it out by reason, following his own line of thought. He argues the self and the world are eternal, barren like a mountain peak, firmly as a post. Set firmly as a post. These beings rush around, circulate, pass away, and re-arise, but this remains forever. That is the fourth way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. So it's an illusion. There are the 4 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins are eternalists and proclaim the eternity of the self and the world on 4 grounds. And whatever ascetics or Brahmins are eternalists and proclaim the eternity of the self and the world, they do so on one or other of these 4 grounds. There is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. These viewpoints, thus grasped and adhered to, will lead to such and such destinations in another world. This the Tathagata knows, and more, but he is not attached to that knowledge. And being thus unattached, he has experienced for himself perfect peace, and having thus truly understood the arising and passing away of feelings, their attraction and peril, and the deliverance from them. The Tathagata is liberated without remainder. There are, monks, other matters, profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, excellent, beyond mere thought, subtle, to be experienced by the wise, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. And what are these matters? So now, we're gonna be continuing on. So, if I understand this correctly, we're going to be reading through truthful praise of the Tathagata. Let's carry on. End of the first recitation section. Okay. There are monks, some ascetics and Brahmins, who are partly eternalists and partly non-eternalists, who proclaim the partial eternity and the partial non-eternity of the self and the world in 4 ways. On what grounds? There comes a time, monks, sooner or later after a long period, when this world contracts. At a time of contraction, beings are mostly reborn in the Abhassara Brahma world, with a footnote 48. This is part of the world of form, of the Rupa Lokas, which escapes destruction. For this and other such locations, see the introduction, page 37, with a detailed review of the 31 planes of existence. I'm guessing that it's the reference here. Please excuse me if I'm wrong. So they are born at a time of contraction. Beings are mostly reborn in the Abhassara Brahma world, and there they dwell mind-made, feeding on delight, self-luminous, moving through the air, glorious, and they stay like that for a very long time. So we have footnote 49 at mind-made and feeding on delight. So footnote 49 and 50. Manomaya, mentally created, not sexually generated. They dwell mind-made. Manomaya, mentally created. Mentally created, not sexually generated. So they do not probably arise based on conception. Okay, and footnote number 50. Goes thus. 49 continues here. They are devas. In another sense, all dhammas are said to be mind-made. Interesting. So Dhammas, yeah. The fourth foundation of mindfulness. Okay, so number 50. On their kind of food, they eat energy. Let's see what that means. Not not requiring material food, but nourished by the jhana factor, piti, delight, joy. Dhamma piti. That's the best piti. Having delighting in the Dhamma. That is well beyond the Brahma worlds. Such a delight. So they feed on delight in the Brahma worlds, as we could also feed on piti of having taken refuge today, right? Before we started reading, taking refuge in the triple gem. May I rejoice in anyone taking joy in that, in their joy. Wrong view, number 5. But the time comes sooner or later after a long period when this world begins to expand. In this expanding world, an empty place, an empty palace of Brahma appears, with a footnote 51. And then one being, from exhaustion of his lifespan or of his merits, 52, falls from the Abhasa world and arises in the empty Brahma palace. And there he dwells, mind-made, feeding on delight, self-luminous, moving through the air, glorious. And he stays like that for a very long time. And we just want to check footnote on this, and they were 51 and 52. Brahma is allotted a relatively humble position, and his creator role explained away in Buddhism. See also Majjhima Nikaya 49.8. Middle length section 391. 52. The lifespan of beings is fixed in some realms and variable in others. Merit or punya is comically wholesome action, leading to a favorable rebirth. It's good that we have the footnotes. Makes it very, very, very good. Excellent. Excellent. Bhikkhu Bhante. Okay, then in this being who has been alone for so long, there arises unrest, discontent and worry, and he thinks, oh, if only some other beings would come here. And other beings, from exhaustion of their lifespan or of their merit, fall away from the Abhasara world and arise in the Brahma palace as companions for this being. And there they dwell, mind-made, and they stay like that for a very long time. And then monks, that being who first arose there thinks, I am Brahma, the great Brahma, the conqueror, the unconquered, the all-seeing, the all-powerful. I am the Lord, the maker and creator, ruler, appointer and orderer, Father of all that have been and shall be. These beings were created by me. And how so? Because I first had this thought, oh, if only some other beings would come here. That was my wish. And then these beings came into existence. But those beings who arose subsequently think, this prince is Brahma, great Brahma, the conqueror, the unconquered, the all-seeing, the all-powerful, the Lord, the maker and creator, ruler, appointer and orderer, Father of all that have been and shall be. And how so? We have seen that he was here first, and that we arose after him. And this being that arose first is longer lived, more beautiful, and more powerful than we are, or than they are. And it may happen that some beings fall from that realm and arise in this world. Having arisen in this world, he goes forth from the household life into homelessness. Having gone forth, he, by means of effort, exertion, application, earnestness, and right attention, attains to such a degree of mental concentration that he thereby recalls his last existence, but recalls none before that. And he thinks, that Brahma, he made us, and he is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change, the same forever and ever. But we, who were created by that Brahma, we are impermanent, unstable, short-lived, fated to fall away, and we have come to this world. This is the first case whereby some ascetics and Brahmins are partially eternalists and partially non-eternalists. That was wrong view number 5, explained by the Blessed Lord Buddha. Wrong view number 6. And what is the second way? There are monks, certain devas. Oh, wow. There was no footnotes in the whole thing we just read there, because 53 is right here. There are monks, certain devas, called corrupted by pleasure. Footnote 53. So they're corrupted, are they? Kitta Padosika. These devas and the next group are mentioned only here in Suttas 20-24. They illustrate the consequences of desire and aversion, even in the relatively higher worlds, in the Deva world. Moral progress is virtually impossible outside the human state, so that they are actually fortunate to fall back to that state. Mindfulness, sati, is all important. DA says, the bodies of these devas are so delicate that if by forgetfulness they miss a single meal, they will pass away from that place. Even if they eat immediately afterwards, it's too late. Wow, didn't know that. We could, I mean, we're just humans, right? We can just feel hungry. I think my light has turned off. Okay, so I know what's going on. If I turn this off, we're gonna have more blue light. Okay, that's the nighttime light turned off, on. They spend an excessive amount of time addicted to merriment, play, and enjoyment, so that their mindfulness is dissipated. And by the dissipation of mindfulness, those beings fall from that state. Very, very delicate, very, very fragile. Such a state. Lucky to be born back as a human. And it can happen that a being having fallen from that state arises in the world. Having arisen in this world, he goes forth from the household life into homelessness. Having gone forth, he by means of effort, exertion, recalls his last existence, but recalls none before that. He thinks, those reverend devas, who are not corrupted by pleasure, do not spend an excessive amount of time addicted to merriment, play, and enjoyment, even though we just heard that they do. Thus, their mindfulness is not dissipated, and so they do not fall from that state. They are permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change, the same forever and ever. But we, who are corrupted by pleasure, spend an excessive amount of time addicted to merriment, play, and enjoyment. Thus we, by the dissipation of mindfulness, have fallen from that state. We are impermanent, unstable, short-lived, fated to fall away. And we have come into this world. This is the second case. So they have themselves are one who have fallen from the world of joy or play, excessive amount of time addicted to merriment and play and enjoyment, so that their mindfulness is dissipated, and so that when they are born as humans, they say, no, such devas as I have been before do not die, which is let me not hammer anything out like a logician would on that case or account. Wrong view number 7. And what is the third way? There are monks, certain devas called corrupted called corrupted in mind. 54. Mano Padosika DA dictionary maybe. I don't know what DA means. That's very weird. Sorry about that. Anyway, DA says these dwell on the plane of the 4 great kings, i.e. only just above the human realm. Interestingly, if only one of the devas gets angry while the other remains calm, this prevents the first from passing away, which would seem to illustrate the sentiment of the Dhammapada 5 and 6. These devas are not essentially different from those mentioned in verses 1 and 2, though on a lower level, apparently immediately above our world as humans, or realm as humans. They spend, wrong view number 7, they spend an excessive amount of time regarding each other with envy, by means which their minds are corrupted by envy, that poison that is envy and jealousy, discontentment, unsupervised. On account of their corrupted minds, they become weary in body and mind, and they fall from that place. And it can happen that a being having fallen from that state arises in this world. He recalls his last existence, but recalls none before that. He thinks, those reverend devas who are not corrupted in mind do not spend an excessive amount of time regarding each other with envy. They do not become corrupted in mind or weary in body and mind, and so they do not fall from that state. They are permanent, stable, eternal. But we who are corrupted in mind are impermanent, unstable, short-lived, fated to fall away, and we have come to this world. This is the third case. So it's interesting that all these wrong viewers say that they see their previous birth and they're passing away from there, and yet and now I'm playing the part of the logician a little bit, but yet they claim that their existence before this one is eternal and lasting forever and ever. How could it be if they're here? That's my point. Wrong view number 8. And what is the fourth way? Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin is a logician. Here we go. A reasoner, hammering it out by reasoning, following his own line of thought. He argues whatever is called eye or ear or nose or tongue or body, that is impermanent, unstable, non-eternal, liable to change. But what is called thought, with a footnote 55, or mind, or consciousness, that is self, that is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change, the same forever and ever. This is the fourth case. Let's take a look at number 55. Chitta, the third foundation of mindfulness. C-I-T-T-A, chitta. More or less synonymous with mano, mind. Contextualizing. It could very easily be so. As per me thinking how I myself use it. But often used much like heart in English. To know in one's heart. Oh, that's new to me. I did not know that. So it is often used much like heart, chitta. I can feel in my mind, in my heart mind. I don't know where that word comes from, heart mind. It's something I once just said. And I was like, what did I just say? Heart mind. You could feel stuff in your heart, right? It's just, I think it's more on account of acknowledging that the mind is not actually like placed in the brain or stable up here. You could feel stuff. The mind is not located in the head, for example. It could very well be in the heart or, several places at different times. But what is called thought or mind consciousness, the logician argues that this is stable. This is the fourth case. There are 4 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins are partly eternalists and partly non-eternalists. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the partial eternity and the partial non-eternity of the self and the world, they do so on one or other of these four grounds. There is no other way. Thus, monks, the Tathagata understands these viewpoints thus grasped and adhered to will lead to such and such destination in another world. So instead of talking about the other worlds and other destinations from this one and the period being a permanent or non-permanent, that the Blessed Lord talks about his enlightened understanding of a being upholding such viewpoints and the consequences of clinging to opinion and viewpoints in this case. This the Tathagata knows and more, but he is not attached to that knowledge. And being thus unattached, he has experienced for himself perfect peace. And having thus understood the arising and passing away of feelings, their attraction and peril, and the deliverance from them, the Tathagata is liberated without remainder. These, monks, are those other matters, profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, excellent, beyond mere thought, subtle, to be experienced by the wise, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. So the Tathagata is the word that the Buddha uses to describe himself. But also it is seen that the Buddha uses atta as a way to say his self, as explained in the introduction. He is not shying away from using the conventional word atta or self, as in saying I, as when the Buddha describes his presence at a place, for example. Because the Buddha never really ever spoke to this conventional world anyway, in which the Buddha with his eye of the Dhamma reviews everything through the net, the supreme net, which is known as the eye of the Dhamma, or actually more in this case, the eye of the Lord Buddha. There are monks, some ascetics and Brahmins, who are finitists and infinitists, and who proclaim the finitude and infinitude of the world on four grounds. What are they? Footnote number 56. Antana. Wait a minute. Antanantika, or extensionists. Wrong view number 9. Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has by means of effort attained to such a state of concentration that he dwells perceiving the world as finite. He thinks, This world is finite and bound by a circle. How so? Because I have attained to such a state of concentration that I dwell perceiving the world as finite. Therefore, I know that this world is finite and bound by a circle. This is the first case. And what is the second way? Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has attained to such a state of concentration in his meditation that he dwells perceiving the world as infinite. He thinks, this world is infinite and unbounded. Those ascetics and Brahmins who say it is finite and bounded are wrong. How so? Because I have attained to such a state of concentration that I dwell perceiving the world as infinite, and therefore I know that this world is infinite and unbounded. This is the second case. So that was wrong view number 10. Wrong view number 11. What is the third way? Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has attained to such a state of consciousness that he dwells perceiving the world as finite, up and down, and infinite across. He thinks, the world is infinite, the world is finite and infinite. Those ascetics and Brahmins who say it is finite are wrong, and those who say it is infinite are wrong. How so? Because I have attained to such a state of concentration that I dwell perceiving the world as finite up and down, and infinite across. Therefore I know that the world is both finite and infinite. This is the third case. Wrong view number 12. And what is the fourth case? Here, a certain ascetic or Brahmin is a logician, a reasoner, hammering it out by reason, and he argues. This world is neither finite nor infinite. Those who say it is finite are wrong, and those who say, and so are those who say it is infinite, and those who say it is finite and infinite. This world is neither finite nor infinite. This is the fourth case. These are the four ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins are finitists and infinitists, and proclaim the finitude and infinitude of the world on four grounds. There is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. These viewpoints thus grasped and adhered to will lead to such and such a destination in another world. These monks are those other matters, profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, excellent, beyond mere thought, subtle, to be experienced by the wise, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. There are monks, some ascetics and Brahmins, who are eel wrigglers. Eel wrigglers. What could that be? 58. interesting footnote 57, a long one, to the wrong views and their possible link to the jhanas of an unenlightened being. Still worldly, with a wrong view. Number 58, Amara Wikipika can be interpreted as either eel wriggling or endless equivocation. Amara, deathlessness, is the name of a slippery fish, perhaps an eel which escapes capture by wriggling. A deliberate pun may be well intended. Talking about fish. Okay, so that was eel wrigglers. And they, when asked about this or that matter, they resort to evasive statements, and they wriggle like eels on four grounds. What are they? Evasive statements. Wrong view number 13. In this case, there is an ascetic or Brahmin who does not in truth know whether a thing is good or bad. He thinks, I do not in truth know whether this is good or whether this is bad. Not knowing which is right, I might declare that is good or that is bad. And that might be a lie. And that would distress me. And if I were distressed, that would be a hindrance to me. Thus, fearing to lie, abhorring to lie, he does not declare a thing to be good or bad. But when asked about this or that matter, he resorts to evasive statements and wriggles like an eel. I don't say this, I don't say that, I don't say it is otherwise, I don't say it is not, I don't say it is, I don't say it is not, I don't not say it is not. This is the first case. Let's read the footnotes 59 and 60. I like that. Either for the higher training or for a heavenly rebirth, where the former is certainly meant. Higher training, 59. Yeah, so talking about how these things could become a hindrance to the higher training. Thus fearing to lie, abhorring to lie, 60. Due to moral shame and moral dread, hiri ottapa, i.e. shame at doing what is wrong and dread of it. These two qualities are called guardians of the world. Jnana Punikatera Abhidhamma studies, the higher learning, the higher Buddhist psychologies. Thus, it is recognized that the first three classes of eel wrigglers have a moral conscience. Their the equivocation stems from lack of understanding, not scruple. It's these irregulars. Wrong view number 14. What is the second way? Here, an ascetic or Brahmin does not in truth know whether a thing is good or bad. He thinks, I might declare that is good or that is bad, and I might feel desire or lust or hatred or aversion. If I felt desire, lust, hatred or aversion, that would be attachment on my part. If I felt attachment, that would be distress. That would distress me. And if I felt, and if I were distressed, that would be a hindrance to me. Thus, fearing attachment, abhorring attachment, he resorts to evasive statements. This is the second case. Wrong view 15. What is the third way? Here, an ascetic or Brahmin does not in truth know whether a thing is good or bad. He thinks, I might declare that is good or that is bad, but there are ascetics and Brahmins who are skillful, practiced debaters, like archers, who can split hairs, who go around destroying others' views with their wisdom, and they might cross-examine me, demanding my reasons and arguing, and I might not be able to reply. Not being able to reply would distress me, and if I were distressed, that would be a hindrance to me. Thus, fearing debate, abhorring debate, he resorts to evasive statements. This is the third case, on account of lack of understanding. Wrong view number 16. What is the fourth way? Here, an ascetic or Brahmin is dull and stupid. Period. Footnote 61. The following views are attributed in the Digha Nikaya or DN 2.31f to Sanjaya. Okay, so that's the stupid person. Dull and stupid. Because of his dullness and stupidity, when he is questioned, he resorts to evasive statements and wriggles like an eel. If you ask me whether there is another world, if I thought so, I would say there is another world. But I don't say so. And I don't say otherwise. And I don't say it is not. And I don't not say it is not. Is there no other world? Is there both another world and no other world? Is there neither another world nor no other world? Are there spontaneously born beings? Are there not both, neither? Does the Tathagata exist after death? Does he not exist after death? Does he both exist and not exist after death? Does he neither exist nor not exist after death? If I thought so, I would say so. I don't say it is not. This is the fourth case. So we got a lot of footnotes here, from 61 to 64. The four alternatives of Indian logic. A thing A is B is not. C both is and is not. D neither is nor is not. Indian logician. Interesting. This is the fourth case. There are 4 ways in which those ascetics and Brahmins who are irregulars resort to evasive statements, there is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. These viewpoints thus grasped and adhered to will lead to such and such destinations in another world. These, monks, are those other matters, profound, hard to see, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. There are, monks, some ascetics and Brahmins who are chance originationists and who proclaim the chance of origin of the self and the world on 2 grounds. What are they? Wrong view number 17. Chance originationists. Completely new word. Interesting. Get a little bit excited, full of energy, and keen on investigation. Investigation itself leads to energy. Right investigation. Wrong view. 17. There are, monks, certain devas called unconscious, with a footnote to 65, having attained a high absorption and fearing the perils of conscious existence, they have wished for and gained an unconscious state. With the first stirring of perception, however, they fall away from that realm. As soon as a perception arises in them, those devas fall away from that realm, and it may happen that a being falls from that realm and arises in this world. He recalls his last existence, but none before that. He thinks, the self and the world have arisen by chance. How so? Before this, I did not exist. Now, from not being, I have been brought to being. This is the first case. Wrong view number 18. What is the second case? Here, an ascetic or Brahmin is a logician, a reasoner. He hammers out by his own opinion and declares, the self and the world have arisen by chance. This is the second case. There are 2 ways in which those ascetics and Brahmins who are chance originists I want you to see this word. Oh, where is it even? Right above my thumb. Chance originists. Can you believe it? Doesn't matter if you don't believe it, because there it is. There are There are two ways in which those ascetics and Brahmins who are chance originists proclaim the chance origin of the self and the world. There is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. These, monks, are those other matters, profound, hard to see, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. And these, monks, are the 18 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins are speculators about the past. There is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. There are, monks, some ascetics and Brahmins who are speculators about the future, having fixed views about the future, and who put forward various speculative theories about the future in 44 different ways. On what basis, on what grounds do they do so? There are, monks, some ascetics and Brahmins who proclaim a doctrine of conscious post-mortem survival and do so in 16 different ways. On what basis? Wrong views, 19 through 34. So now we're going to go through a lot of wrong views as follows. They declare that the self after death is healthy and conscious and material and 1. Material, 2. Immaterial, 3. Both material and immaterial, 4. Neither material nor material, 5. Finite, 6. Infinite, 7. Both, 8. Neither, 9. Of uniform perception, 10. Of varied perception, 11. Of limited perception, 12. Of unlimited perception, 13. Wholly happy, 14. Wholly miserable, 15. Both, 16. Neither. These are the 16 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins proclaim a doctrine of conscious post-mortem survival. There is no other way. This, monks, the Tathagata understands. These, monks, are those matters, profound, hard to see, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super-knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. And let me just jump back to the footnote 66 and 67 on the material and immaterial 1 and 2. The view of the Ajivakas. Okay. 67. The view of the Jains says, the other views mentioned are based on various meditational experiences. Okay, so the Ajivakas think that the body, material, they declare that the self after death is healthy and conscious in 1. And the Jains declare that the self after death is healthy and conscious in the immaterial Arupaloka. But this concludes this Dhamma reading and study, and investigations linked to Viriya, energy, persistence, effort, exhaustion. End of second recitation section. So now we're going to end this, having just gone all the way up to wrong view 34 of the 62 wrong views. Right? Is it 61 or 62 wrong views? 62 kinds of wrong view. So we're just crossed the halfway mark here on page 83. Let me just get my bookmark and put it on the page we are at. Thus, problem with my bookmark is that it goes on both sides of the page, so I have to find out which side I'm on. But this is a reasonable place to start reading, as opposed to this. So, let me close this book, put it back in this fine, protective kind of sheathing book cover with beautiful colors. Kasina meditation. You can look at this green color and do Kasina meditation. I can maybe make the whole screen. There you go. That's kind of green. That's Kasina meditation for you. And today we have been reading from the Digha Nikaya, translated by Maurice Walsh. In our investigative studies of the nature of energy and exertion and effort. And I think this has been a wonderful reading session. 1 hour and 23 minutes on just going through different kinds of wrong views and learning about Il Regulus. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got to take refuge in the Buddha. And if you did not, if you're watching this right now, you could go back to the beginning of the video when it is uploaded to YouTube and watch the whole thing one more time. So let me put this book over here where I have the Majjhima Nikaya as well. The next book, almost twice as big. Like this. Now they're laying there next to each other, looking fine. And let me just finish off here with saying a thank you and well done, Namo in your keen attention and supreme investigation as to coming to see things as they truly are. And so, may you find true peace, happiness, and freedom from suffering. Hereby. And once again, thanks so much for listening. And leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed this one, and you can come back for the next episode of my channel. So, until then, bye bye, be well, and peace.